Hey everyone, and welcome to Phoenix Talks. We are on season 2, episode 4, and as always, I am joined by my lovely co-host Diane and I. Say hi so that the camera will switch for you.
Hi, everyone.
So if you caught the promo for tonight, I may or may not have talked about what we're going to talk about, but the topic for tonight is attachment. And that's what we're going to focus on, or detachment, or connection, or disconnection. It's still kind of all up in the air and confusing, but we'll sort all that out, kind of like I said in the promo. So I'm going to shut up for a second and I'm going to let her take the stage and tell you guys where she wants to start going with this.
Okay. So I brought this up because, especially post-holiday season, starting a new year, everyone's hopefully reevaluating where they're at in life. So it's a time to really evaluate where your energy is going. What kind of things are we focusing on? What kind of things are we attached to? What kind of things do we need to detach from? What kind of things are we not connected to? And what do we want to connect with? So, where I want to kind of see where the arms and legs and branches take us, but mainly having to do with where your focus is. So, and I'm not focusing on attachment style within relationship because that's a whole different topic. And I almost feel like that's really just for you to gauge where you're at and how your trauma has affected you, not a label for you to slap on yourself and determine every relationship based on that. So I don't want to go down that road only because to me it's like if you're doing this kind of work, then that's kind of a moot point. Um,
Yeah, but we don't want to dive down the well, this always happens to me rabbit hole. That's not tonight.
because do the work and then you won't apply to those attachment styles anymore. So that's not where we're going.
No.
Where I'm more going is focusing on what are the unhealthy attachments in your life, in the material world, in the emotional world, in the mental world, like what ideas are you attached to that really are irrelevant in your life now? What material things are you attached to that are really not important at all in the grand scheme of things when it comes to your health and well-being, and what emotional things you're attached to that are still unhealthy for you that don't make sense anymore. So those are the avenues that I want to kind of branch on. And if we want to start with the material world, since we're coming off the holidays, maybe there's some, and I don't want to spend too much time on the material world because that's not where the meat and potatoes is. The meat and potatoes is in the emotional, mental aspects of attachment and how to be connected to yourself in a way that connects you to everything whilst you're simultaneously detached from the things that don't really matter for your health and well-being and progress. Does that make sense?
God, the branches that just went all over the place with that.
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
So just really briefly on in the material aspects of things, um, anything that is material that isn't a necessity for your being to thrive in this world, who cares? Like, your sister got something that you uh wanted or that you thought she didn't deserve or kind of BS like that. This that kind of stuff has zero relevance to your ultimate health and well-being and progress in life. Has zero. So that's the kind of stuff that I'm saying. What are you attached to that's unhealthy in the materialistic world that you need to detach from? And then we can move on from there and really dive into the emotional, mental aspects of things.
Now, from a materialistic standpoint, what I just heard was you can't take it with you anywhere.
Bingo.
So what are you willing to live with? What do you need to live with? What do you attach to when it comes to what you live with? Uh, there's so much shoulding in the world. You should have this amount of money. You should have this kind of car. You should have this kind of house. You should have this kind of toothpaste. These are all materialistic things.
Right,
Do they make you happy now?
right.
Do you appreciate them now? Is there such an attachment to having to have those things that you are missing out on what you could be enjoying now?
Right.
So, can you detach from, because a lot of these things come from social media, they come from look, looking at others and being the jealous gene, that we all like to put on and wear when we go out. Oh, look at their clothes. I wish I could afford them. Okay, and putting that attachment on it.
Right.
Or can you detach enough to say, hey, wow, and you look in the mirror and you think you look nice. Well, can you stay there? Not in front of the mirror, but can you stay in that and detach from what other people are doing?
So
Eleanor Roosevelt comes to mind on this one.
yeah, and so in that aspect of the material world, there's always an emotional attachment that is placed on something material. And I'm going to shift it from the surface level stuff, like you were just mentioning, and bring
Mhm.
it down a little bit deeper to um, somebody stole my grandmother's ring and now I have nothing left. That is a material object that you are placing an emotional attachment to. So everything material, there's going to be an emotional mental piece too. So it's a good segue into
But it
diet.
means so much and I can't replace it,
Right,
and now it's gone.
right.
And I'm
So,
not trying to poke fun at you, so please don't take it that way. But we do. That's how deep we put attachments to items.
right. And that happens a lot too. And I'm not poo-pooing on an attachment to something physical because sometimes it's attached to somebody who's no longer here, and that might
Right.
be something that you remember of them. So it is a matter of understanding that there's an emotional attachment to that physical item, and your focus, here we're going to bring it back to the focus now piece. Focus on the emotional energy that it brought you. The item brings you that joy or happiness or that beautiful memory. That's where the focus needs to be.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a healthier attachment to that item. You will always have that memory of the item in your mind, and you don't physically need it in your presence as long as you allow yourself permission to feel the love that was attached to it. So you can
It
detach from the physical item with the acceptance that the love in it remains.
it's one more example of how you've heard me say over the course of the series that we put all of our experiences at the tip of our finger as and point to this item, this person caused me to feel a certain way. No, they stimulated a thought that generated a feeling that you are aware of. And you can actually picture whatever item. Let's go with grandma's locket again. You could actually picture that item and still have that experience and still put that emotional attachment to, oh my God, she had this beautiful pocket. I opened it up and I looked in, I could see her and her mother, and they had a little picture in there, and then you just start to have those feelings again.
Right,
So it's not a matter of, yes, the physical is beautiful. It's lovely to have in your hands and to be able to hold and have that extra sensory input from that experience, but it's still generating a thought that
right,
you attach the feeling to.
right. And the thoughts that need to surface for you can be shifted into those that allow you to receive and continue to receive that love. Now, mind you, stuff in the physical world, it's going to come and go, and your memory of it is going to be different than the actual item itself sometimes, whatever it is. So, how do we detach? The first step is practicing radical acceptance. Well, what the heck does that mean? Okay, so
You're about to send our viewers reeling on this one. I can feel already.
I'm sure I will.
Every time we talk about Elsa and letting it go,
Right. It's a really, it's a,
there's radical resistance to it.
right. So radical acceptance is just understanding that, okay, well, what is my reality right in this moment? The reality right in this moment is that that physical object doesn't exist. And so
Mhm.
therefore, there's nothing I'm going to change about that. It is what it is. What can I do to give myself peace in this moment? Because it's what do I want to feel in this moment? Do I want to feel like crap and resentful and jealous or judgmental or angry or whatever the lower vibrational negative emotions are? Or do I wish to instead hold on to the wonderful feelings that that particular object gave me? So let me radically accept that it no longer exists in my physical presence, wish wherever it is and whoever might be experiencing it, if it still exists, uh, the same level of joy that you experienced with it, and radically accept the reality right now in the moment. So that's how you detach from the physical object. And this applies to almost anything. You know, your car's wrecked. Okay, what do we do next? This is the situation. I can't change it. I can't fix it. What do I do now? Okay, radically accept and let me move forward. What steps do I need to take in order to get myself into a new circumstance or situation to get a different car? You know, I'm kind of giving it a broad stroke.
Yep.
So that's the physical stuff, but it's a good segue into the emotional aspects and mental aspects, because the mental is the programming, remember, and the emotions that come from the programming can be married together so that you can decide how do you want to feel, and then what do you need to reprogram to get that feeling.
Yeah, especially since your mind can't be stolen from you or lost. Well, you can lose your mind,
Right,
but
right,
that's a different conversation.
right,
Stay with us on this one.
right, right.
Don't let your mind wander. And by the way, just in case any of you that are watching felt a twinge of anger or resentment about the feeling of radical acceptance, and it's not saying don't feel like you've been robbed, don't feel like you've lost something. Feel what you feel. We're in no way, shape, or form are we trying to say that you were wronged in that instance if somebody took something that was precious to you away, or if something goes wrong. Feel what you need to feel.
Mhm.
But if it's gone, detach.
Right,
Give yourself the permission and the grace, because it'll help in the longer run
right.
to, and good grief. I mean, look at Thanksgiving for me. When I was without transportation for several days, and I had the opportunity to just, completely shut down inside and go into panic because there was no finances coming in. I wasn't able to go out. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to get through this. I don't have to put attachment to the fact that I'm incapable right now. I asked for a break anyway. Universe responded. So here you
Right.
go.
And that's the thing. Usually, and this is hard, this is the radical acceptance part on a emotional and mental level. Give yourself permission to believe that the way things unfold sometimes are for your growth in a different way. So if you're being pushed to radically accept something that you're attached to, it's possible there's something greater on the other side that you're unaware of because it has yet to unfold. But whatever that is that you need to detach from might be in the way of you receiving or obtaining or achieving what's on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
So the mental emotional aspects of this whole attachment, detachment, connection thing is at the base of everything in your experience. So be present in the present.
The present is it.
My partner's saying the present is a present. Yes, it is. Yes, it
It,
is.
yep, and that's why we call it a gift. Yep.
Yes, right. We got to be here in a moment and receive everything that we have present to us right now. So, I mean, let's talk about how that affects us with a job, with our relationships, with our belief systems. Oh, especially with belief systems, because that's directly tying the heart and mind together. You want to talk about the Heart Math Institute and marrying the heart and mind.
Yeah,
Okay.
throw a belief system in there and
Let's
have it
talk about
and then have it
belief.
interrupted by somebody else's belief system.
Right. So,
Now that's a really great point to really make between attachment versus detachment. The capability of standing in your truth, standing in what you believe in, walking your talk. Meanwhile, being in full acceptance that your way is not the only way, that somebody else's is what's going to work for them, and being able to detach to what it is that you believe
right,
with the capability of being open
right.
to what somebody else follows.
Yes,
Because everybody's right and everybody's wrong when it comes to belief systems.
right. And that the connection part that ties into this is, are you connected enough to yourself to discern what it is that your beliefs are to attach to? Because there's one belief system that I know I'm attached to that most other people don't quite understand. And
Right.
at the core of all my beliefs is love. Love is all there is.
Right.
And so everything stems from love. And that's a lot of people don't understand, how that is possible. Um, I do, and that works for me. So that's okay if it doesn't work for you. I can share the knowledge that I've gained and give some perspective to those who don't understand for whatever limitations they have. But that word limitations is very important here. In what ways are you limiting yourself with what you're attached to in your belief systems?
Right.
And how does that bleed out into your experience? Are you limiting your own self with the work that you do, with the life that you want to experience, with trying new things, with accepting of people and their own uniqueness, in relationships where you're projecting expectations and limitations onto them, that kind of thing. So at the stem of it all needs to be you connecting with yourself enough to know what works for you.
Exactly. Perfection is perception.
Explain that.
Okay. What I mean by perfection is perception. We all have our own perspective of what perfect is. There is no true definition of perfection.
Correct.
And if
It's
we attach to a perfect life, a perfect belief, we're going to be let down. We're going to judge. We're going to not see that the path that other people are taking with different names is just like the one that we're trying to take ourselves. And one thing for new viewers, because I know we have a few, one thing that Diane and I don't do is proselytize about any religion or religious beliefs. We will talk about them as if they are all one, that people break up into what they carry and attach to.
yes.
Because neither one of us want to tell anyone what they should, we're not going to should on you, believe.
Right.
You believe and you attach to what is in here. That's what's important.
Correct. So are you connected enough to yourself to discern what it is that you feel? And are you able to detach from a belief system that you recognize isn't working for you or is limiting you in some way? And are you radically accepting that to move yourself forward? What did Maya Angelou say? Do what you know until you learn different and then do that.
Yep.
Yes, I'm paraphrasing. I don't remember the quote
Something
exactly.
along those lines, but yes.
Right.
Do what you
So
know because it might change tomorrow.
right, precisely. And remind yourself that it's okay to shift your perception. It's okay to be pliable and malleable for yourself, for your own health and well-being.
Right.
It's a process of learning and unlearning. I like to use the phrase, I'm connected to everything and attached to nothing. Um, and just not to use myself as an example, but I practice radical acceptance all the time, and I decide to stay in the moment and present and decide to allow myself to have adventures and try new things and do new things that are incredibly uncomfortable because I push myself to discern what is right for me and what will bring me where I feel that I would love to experience.
Right.
So there's part of that trusting your own intuition piece and trusting yourself and believing, having faith in the unknown and allowing that has to occur with the connection piece and the learning what's healthy to attach to and what's unhealthy to attach to, what you
Yeah.
need to detach from.
And in light of world events, we're not going to pinpoint or name names or anything, but when it comes to an emotional attachment to an idea, we're going to shift a little bit from religious beliefs and into ideas and traditions and values. But when you are so emotionally attached to an idea that it causes you to go against who you are, act out, shame others because they're not seeing things the way that you are, because in your perception, in your reality, this is how things should be based on all of the things that you have learned throughout the course of your life, whether it be from your parents, your teachers, your religious leaders, the political leaders, whoever it is that you're learning from. You've taken all of this in, it's gotten programmed into your mind into a certain pattern, and then it comes out. And if that pattern gets interrupted, are you able to detach from that disruption and act in your own integrity?
And that's directly tied into our relationships, because how many dysfunctional family dynamics come from attachment to unhealthy ideals or behaviors or thought patterns or belief systems?
Mm-hmm. And a lot of times when those were initiated, they suited the time. And then they get passed down generation. Well, times changed. Then they get passed down to another generation. Times really changed. Was that it? Is it working? Is it still important today? Many of us have different, we try and honor the family traditions and stay attached to that because we want to honor thy father and thy mother. We hear that most of our lives. Well, what happens when you disagree?
Right,
And what they want you to do isn't what you're going to do.
right. I'm a big example of that in my family. We call that the black sheep.
You're a bad girl.
Yes. But I choose to follow my heart and do what feels right to me and trust myself, because ultimately my goal is to relax my nervous system, and that with that in my I've proven to myself, as I try to word this carefully, that detaching and disconnecting from things that are not in alignment with who I truly am actually bring me more synchronicities, more opportunities, more abundance. If I'm in alignment with me, because I know we've talked about alignment,
Yep.
if I'm in alignment with me, it's a lot easier to detach because I'm trusting myself to lead myself to where I'm supposed to be and who I'm supposed to be around.
Which oftentimes leads to the perceived passive aggressive statement, not my problem.
It could be worded in a less passive aggressive way.
But just because I know that a lot of viewers will relate to that phrase, not my problem.
Right. I like to say, not my circus, not my monkeys.
That too. That too.
But at the end of the day, it says the same thing. Like we can give ourselves permission to focus our energy on the things that are higher alignment with ourselves
Yes.
and allow ourselves permissions to release detachment. Because when you release detachment to things that are unhealthy for you, people's, places, things, relation, whatever, you end up also releasing guilt, shame, false senses of obligations and responsibilities. The liberation that comes from it ends up opening more doors for you and bringing in more synchronicities and abundance.
Oh, big one just popped in.
Go for it.
See if I can keep that trail. Come on. Something about the shame and the guilt. Being able to stay true to who you are, even if it goes against, without having to make a grand exit
I have a
to detach.
suggestion on how that, yes, I can tell you how.
Without that, it came in jumbled. So I was literally having to sort the words back into a
Yes.
sentence.
So a lot of times with the disconnecting from things that are unhealthy and detaching from things that are unhealthy, come with a lot of unhealthy feedback. I'm going to be very polite in saying it that way. Unhealthy pushback.
Yes.
So the three things that I love to say to keep in alignment with integrity and truth and a heart-centered space of love is it true, relevant, and kind when you're responding? It is perfectly acceptable for you to say, okay, I understand that's what you feel and that works for you. That's not in alignment with my needs. So I appreciate the suggestion. That doesn't work for me though, so I'm going to do what I need to do for my own health and well-being. That's a
Mhm.
very loving and respectful way to say, I don't want to flip the bird on.
You should see the Rise community. It's okay.
But you got what I mean by that. It's
Yeah.
it's respectful. It's a respectful way to set a hard boundary and to express that you can feel however you feel, but this is for me. So I'm going to do me.
And an extension of that is when you have made the decision that a situation, whether it be person, place, or thing, but when a situation is no longer working and you want to detach from that, you don't have to explain why.
You don't.
And if you feel like you have to,
Mhm.
you have not detached,
Right. And you
then
don't
it's
have
become
to.
it's become an idea to detach. You have
Yeah.
made the motions to do it. You have stepped away, but there's still that, we're going to call it a cord, just for lack of a better description, but there's still that cord of attachment between you and the situation that you feel like, well, I owe them an explanation.
Right.
Not really.
So let's tie that into how that could be detrimental to your health and well-being, especially in the dynamic of a personal relationship. Because a lot of times it's not just what you're mentioning, it goes even a step deeper into the idea that you're attached to old ideas of what will happen, or this is where we get attached to what happened to us in the past and we get stuck in that victimhood
Yep.
mentality and that idea that it's going to continue to happen, instead of being very present in the present, because it's a present,
And you know,
And
I'm a big advocate on not digging in the past to find an answer, but to embrace the past because then the answer is going to come to you.
right, right. And allowing yourself to detach when you're presented with new information, with new energy, with new experiences, and allowing yourself to go through all those emotions that you need to in order to detach and get your ego to stop hounding you with that ruminating itch that happens, the overthinking, the because your ego jumps immediately to, well, they're just going to do this. Are they though? Or are you just attached to the idea because you've had experiences like that? This is where you reevaluate where you're at and you decide, I'm not there anymore. So I'm not going to accept that in my life anymore. So I'm going to detach from that old idea and allow myself to accept and receive this new idea. However uncomfortable it may be to trust it, I'm going to radically accept it and allow myself to experience it because it's something new and different.
And
Because
as Carrie just said in the chat, that's the hard part.
yes, but it's doable. It's
It
you.
is.
Yes, you are more power. You get to program what's in here. You make it up. You're upgrading the software and get rid of the viruses and the kinks. This is for you to do. You decide based on what's in the present moment.
Yeah.
Woo.
Need a moment?
But
I think she needs a
it's,
moment.
yeah.
Oh my goodness. So there's another element of attachment and detachment that I want to bring to the table now,
Yes.
and that's attachment to outcomes.
Okay.
Because a lot of people, and God, we could probably have a whole nother episode just on attachment to outcomes. Because we go to a doctor with a problem and we expect them to be able to fix it, and they give us a solution, and we are attached to that outcome. And any hiccups, oh God, we start a new diet plan, and we are expecting to lose a certain amount of pounds off the body and transform them into muscle. We are attached to that outcome. We start journaling every single day, and we are attached to the outcome that this is going to help to change our mindset. Ooh. So when we start a journey and we attach an ideal, notice there's an L at the end of that.
Mm. Yes, L for label. We attach a label to ourselves, and how limiting is that?
Yes.
Right. Oh, especially in the mental health world. Woo! Take the DSM as a way to understand yourself, not as written in stone, this is what you are.
Oh, if
That's
I told you the list of different diseases that I could be,
oh,
it, it's mind blowing.
yes. Aside from the physical diseases, I mean, people wear depression like a crutch and a badge of honor. No, don't do that to yourself. You're limiting yourself because someone read a book and decided you fit in that box. Instead, decide to rip that label off and choose how you wish to go forward to improve your health and well-being,
Mhm. Dr.
emotional
George
and mental.
Pransky actually worked with Sydney Banks directly, one together. And one of the things that he talks about is, I'm actually going to throw in my own 2 cents with it when it comes to attachment and emotions, attaching a label to our emotions, since
Mhm.
we're on that page. So you say you're depressed, doesn't last. You say you're anxious, doesn't last. You say you're happy, it doesn't last. You say you have hope, it doesn't last. No singular emotion that we experience can we put 100% attachment to, because it's going to change.
Right. And if you're experiencing those labels, it's because you're not in alignment with yourself and you're disconnected from yourself. So you're not fulfilled. You're not, your overall health and well-being is not the priority. It's the attachment to other people's expectations to the outcome of what you're supposed to be in their
Right,
mind, in their
right.
limiting beliefs. So, and I'm going to throw this one out there, which is going to probably send up a lot of like, what? A lot of recovering, I'm going to say recovering substance abuse folks attach the label to themselves permanently because of the biology behind it, forgetting the idea that they're labeling themselves and limiting themselves, because ultimately, if you decide that doesn't suit you and you're not aligned with that because you're living a healthier lifestyle and you're doing better for yourself, why are you still slapping that label on yourself? And I don't care if you use the word recovering in front of it, because you're still labeling yourself. It's, you never want to go back there. You won't. You
No.
really won't. I've worked with a lot of individuals who have been through that cycle of substance abuse and come out the other side a different individual, and it literally became a decision that that's never who they're going to be again, because substance abuse is just one example of the ways in which we experience uh, uh, avoidance behaviors and attach to things to escape from healing, doing
Right,
the deep healing work.
right. And to tag that, many people that program works, that mindset and way of thinking about recovery from helps. If it's not helping and you're not recovering and you're still putting that other label on you, reconsider
Right.
and take a different look, because how you think about yourself is how you present yourself. How you present yourself is what other people see. How other people see is how they respond to you.
Right. If you feel as though you are susceptible to fall into that rabbit hole again, then ask yourself, am I doing the deeper healing work and implementing new thought patterns and behaviors that would shift me entirely away from even considering that as an option ever again?
Right.
So if you feel as though you're still susceptible, then perhaps there's deeper layers for you to uncover and walk through, and new avenues for you to experience that are a lot healthier and more in alignment and connected to you.
Because you could actually be recovering attachment.
Right.
You need to detach.
Right. So this is where the reevaluation is so important, because are you reevaluating yourself often enough? I think I'm pretty well emotionally regulated and handle myself well, but I promise you that is because I reevaluate consistently and constantly. It's part of my process daily. I'm always evaluating and checking myself. You know, I'm not saying I'm not human. I'm
Mhm.
not saying I don't have moments. I'm not saying that I don't struggle. We all do. We all have moments of uh, emotional dysregulation on some level. Are
Oh
we
yeah.
attached to those dysregulations based on our past experience, or concerns for a future that doesn't exist? Or are we remaining present in the moment and checking in with ourselves and deciding what we want to experience right now and how do we get there and doing that? Whew, it's a lot.
Yeah. We've thrown a lot at them tonight, and it's difficult to try and get all the different facets of attachment, detachment into less than an hour, because there's just so many things,
Right.
so many different layers and levels of how we attach our thoughts and our emotions
Right.
and our sense of self to other things. So detach for a moment I invite you to go grab some pen and paper and write down what your life might be like if you detached tomorrow from where you live. Choose. You don't have to do all these, but do it from where you live. Diane's living it. Who you're with, where you work, what you wear, how you present yourself. Any of these pick something that you know that you're really attached to. And I'm not talking about cell phones because most of us nowadays can't survive without, especially if we're coming to you in your living rooms. So, so cell phones don't use, but pick something that it would have such a strong, and it can be a person too, that it would have such a strong resistance if you had to detach.
I quit my day job so that I could start a new life in this brand new relationship with an individual that is a blessing in my life. And I'm changing states. I'm not even in the same state anymore, just without even ever having been here. And just be like, all right, come on, we're doing it. Let's go. It's because what I'm connected to is feeling whole and my health and well-being and where I see myself in my career going forward.
Mhm.
Uh, and so I have to detach. I loved my day job. I miss the people terribly. Uh, I'm not near my family anymore. It's okay. I'm gonna be fine. Just the level of detachment that needs to happen and connectedness with me to make sure that I'm listening to my own intuition and following my heart and trusting myself is something that can be achieved by anyone when you're not, when you release all the judgments and expectations of outcomes and allow yourself to be open to doing these uncomfortable new things with the potentiality of the instability that most people would never even dream of having,
Mhm.
and just trusting that it will unfold in your favor so long as you're in alignment with you. So connected to everything, attached to nothing, and healthy attachments versus unhealthy attachments, when to detach, when to not. It's that self reevaluation continuous that you need to practice, and go watch all of season 1 because that'll tell you how to get yourself to this place.
Yeah, even we're still building on season 1, but yeah, that's a great place to start. I mean,
Yes,
you want to talk about free advice? There you go.
there you go.
We
Right.
might contradict ourselves every once in a while, but that's okay. So does the human race. I want to call out to one of the chat members, and I appreciate the fact that he responded. He says, "I'm recovered from a hopeless state of mind, spirit, body. Is how I introduced myself today instead of that label that we were talking about
Wonderful.
just a few moments ago." And that's beautiful.
Wonderful.
And I honor you for saying that.
Yes.
You are not that label.
Right.
You are only the label that you're attached to.
Right. Right.
You're not the labels that you're trying to detach from.
Right. And when we detached, we can talk about it like we're talking about the weather. I mean, because the reality is it's part of your experience and has been your boot camp and training to where you are today.
Mhm.
It doesn't define who you are forever.
Right.
Doesn't. And neither do
And
fans.
and unless whatever habit, lifestyle that you say you're recovering from, every day that you don't, you're recovered.
Right.
And if you go back to a mindset, an attachment to a person, place, thing, it's okay. Don't harsh on yourself. Don't guilt yourself. Don't put that kind of pressure on your shoulders that you have to live a certain way. You're going to trip. You're going to fall. You did that as a kid. And if you're watching this, congratulations, you survived that fall.
Mm. The point
So,
is you choose to get up and you choose to do something different,
yeah,
right? Because the old way's not working. The old thoughts are not working. The old things don't exist anymore,
no.
you know.
And you can't take it with you. None of it.
No. And it can be taken from you in one way or another. And I've experienced a ton of that in my own life. So stuff doesn't mean anything to me.
No. But if you find joy, you can hold on to it.
That part. And that's your
Find
lesson for the
misery,
day.
and likewise, if you find misery, you can hold on to it.
Yeah.
No one's forcing you.
So I'm going to add on to your homework of writing down what it is that to the reevaluation piece of it,
Okay.
and add on, do a little bit of a purge in your space and in your heart and mind. So
Ooh.
after that list, actually follow through with detaching or getting rid of things that are not in alignment with you and what you're trying to become for yourself.
I just did that. And it was lonely feeling at first. So give yourself the grace to understand that when you detach from something, there is going to be an emptiness and a void that you're going to feel when you do. But that's okay.
Yeah.
It's normal.
Have faith, things will unfold for you and will be introduced into your experience. So be open to that, which is in alignment with you.
100%.
That hasn't yet appeared.
And I think we're going to end.
They got their homework. We got the joy. We're good.
Yes. And we've given you guys a lot to think about in this episode. And thank you so much to the live chat for hanging out with us. We appreciate you and hope you got a little bit of wisdom that you didn't have before. And I guess it's my turn for the topic next week. Don't know what it is yet, but watch out for the promo right here on my YouTube channel because I'll be posting that really soon. Remember to love yourselves.
Yeah.
I
And
love
you
you.
can do this.
I
You can
love
do
you,
it.
Diane. Thank you for
I
being
love
with me
you.
again on this amazing episode. And we will see you next week.
We will see you soon.
All right.
Love you.
Bye bye.